Track 2 get paid for 150 hours. And really, the program is 120. We just include some of the online.
Because last year, track 2 got paid more than track 1.
Right, because they were at a minimum, and that's normally how it works, so they're getting paid 150. And unfortunately, guys, this is why I honestly, I went to CareerSource and I went to CNC and I said, I got a problem. You know, I've got kids talking, I've got parents mad, I got lead teachers, and CNC said, okay, we'll bring it up to $10. So that'll make them as close as possible. Okay, and I understand that we want to give all the students the fair opportunity, but also we need to also educate them that this is a great opportunity where they're going to get 200, and I understand, but you know what, Miss Jackson, then you know what, maybe that child then shouldn't be in the program. Because at the end of the day, if it's all about the...
You gotta just think about kids who come in from these low-income houses.
I understand.
It's not really the child, it's not the child, it's the parent.
I know.
Because those are the ones who gave me grief.
I know.
It wasn't the kids, it's the parents.
I know.
And when they
Which is
find
sad.
out that Johnny got paid this and Mary got this, then they come to us. It's
Right.
not the kids. Now the kids are grateful.
But don't they know that up front? The difference
Well,
in pay?
Well, the thing
No.
is that the track 1 kids are supposed to get paid for the 4 weeks, while track 2 only gets paid for 2 weeks.
But in the last
Turned
couple of
out-
years, since we've had the track, the
Right.
grants, this only started in the last couple of years.
Track
The grant
2
was picked up for the
Right.
2.
So track 2
So then
got,
they end up getting more.
Then they start
so
talking.
track 2 got,
Then track 1.
track 2, which was only supposed to get paid for 2 weeks, got $1,200.
So again, they're gonna get closer because they're at $10 now. They're gonna get closer. They're still going to have a little bit of a difference. Okay?
Is there a way to put like all like track 1 at certain places?
The thing is that they're all in the classroom. You know, I can't make 10 classrooms. There's 3 classrooms, remember? So it's 100 students, 30 some per class. I actually do my best, but I have 50, right? To put all track 1 in one class. But they go out, they have lunch, they start talking. They, trust me, Miss Laguna gets it when they're in the classroom. They're constantly asking. So I basically say, look guys, at the end of the day, just the educational track is $3,000 you're getting free. $3,000.
And it was good to hear from my students that were either the track 1 or the track 2. They weren't complaining on who got paid more, but they did come out and say that what they got out of the program far exceeded whether they got more money than their classmate did.
And I always say, you know, any added bonus in that, because realistically, who gets paid while they're in the classroom?
Nobody. Yeah.
So that in its own, even if they, and I understand, listen, I understand, but we gotta work with it. And that's all I could say. I'm doing my best. I went to fight for this year. I went to CareerSource and I said, I got a big problem. You need to help me balance this out. So they raised the minimum to $10. Again, I don't want now, hopefully, now they're gonna say, oh, I'm making $10. I'm not even saying that. I'm telling you, please do not say this, okay? Because although track 2 is always gonna make a bit more, okay? It will be closer, okay, to what they're making.
They also only work it's only 4 weeks, as the other internships are
5.5.
or even longer, and they're getting the same amount of money.
Right.
I think that's part
And they're getting food, and they're getting, so do you feed them every day? All our kids are getting fed every day. They're getting, you know, the same breakfast you got here, they're getting lunch, they're getting a Metro Pass.
Yeah, they can't complain.
You know what, I think at the end of the day, it's about transparency. If up front, they know this is what track 1 is, this is what track 2 is, there's no guarantee of what track you're gonna follow, it's based on
That's what we
circumstances.
try to explain.
You know, it's based on circumstances, and that's out of Connie's.
But so later, Gatka and I here, most of them have had me out there for
And that
parents.
was the
But
best
a lot of
help for
times they
us.
don't understand. You know, and I understand that. You could sit, I mean, look, you guys are still trying to understand track 1 and track 2. Okay, I understand that. And the parents, I go out there and I talk to them. I've been to Miss Washington's open house, to Coral Week's open house, to Gable's open house, you know, and I tell them. And it's very confusing. I get it. I get it. All I can say is I'm doing my best. You know, this is a great opportunity, by the way. You know, we got last year, we got national exposure, you know, the mayor's a conference, highlighted the future bankers. Now I'm getting calls from everywhere, they want to duplicate this. By the way, did Miss Diaz, I forgot to ask her about Connecticut. Did Miss Diaz leave already? Okay,
She's
so,
in her office.
okay, I'll go see her in the office. So now they want to duplicate this. They think this is a great, and you all know, it's a great opportunity.
Phenomenal
I mean, you know, and by the way, I mean, you might not know, but we've got many future bankers that are employed now at their bank. And if they reach me, for example, the idea from Hialeah Gardens, started to work at Popular Community Bank. He's now moving to Orlando. He reached out to me and said, Ms. Laguna, is there any way you can help me? And 4 banks reached out to him to get him a job in Orlando. Okay? If they reach, but here's the thing, they don't reach out to me, I can't place them.
I have a kid too, Maurice.
There's kids all over that are in banks right now. Okay? And they reach out to me, you know, unless they really do a bad interview and I try to help them, they're gonna get a placement.
I get it from a student's perspective, it's about the money, but this is really more about the experience than it is about the money. The money they can make working at McDonald's. If they really wanted to make money, work at McDonald's. At the end of the day, go shake a basket of French fries. If it's really about the money, but what we're trying to do here is provide an avenue, an opportunity for them to
You know, we're
better
trying to give them a
themselves.
credential. We're trying to make that contact. Well, you know, you saw BBVA. Unfortunately, I don't know if you know, but the president has changed now, which we have to wait and see because Munoz was really, really supportive. But they're still trying. They got 2 lanes. You know, the whole idea is, and I always tell these kids, guys, all it takes is to be at the right time, at the right place with the right person. That's it. That's it. To get an opportunity, to be able to connect, to be able to help. So, you know, and we've had, I mean, I could tell you stories of them being at the bank and they have mentors. I've had mentors buy laptop for kids. I've had mentors provide, at one point I had somebody who was expecting, they did a shower for her at the bank. I mean, you know, they do care. So at the end of the day, it's about the experience, and I know it's hard, but at the end, this is what we're working with.
So when they're going through these 4 weeks, how many hours? Are they doing 120 or 150?
They're doing 120.
But they put it in.
Okay.
I include like they're doing the online, which brings them up to 150. But they're doing 120.
Okay,
They're not doing 150.
got you.
Okay? They're doing 60 and 60. So,
If you
Yeah.
tell them that up front, and if they have a problem with that, then like you said.
Because
it's
again,
yeah, then you feel it, because this is the thing, if that child has a problem, he's gonna go back to his mom or dad, because you're telling me it's the parent.
It
But
is.
But somebody has to be bringing that information
Right,
back.
because the kid has a problem.
Got it?
No, this is what happened last year, Ms. Laguna. The bankers before last year, they shared the information. We got $1,300. I'm telling Mezadu that I got $1,300. She's a future banker. She goes in. She's expecting 13. She didn't get 13. So that's where the problem came.
But that child went back and told the parents.
But this
Of
was
course, they're
being
gonna communicate.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it's a child that has the, you know, remember how we discussed? You already told me, and I appreciate that. Ms. Laguna, these kids are not candidates for this. Because again, this is our 11th year. I'm hoping I reach 30 years, okay? Well, Ms. Laguna would like to retire. However, it's 30 years, but here's the thing. You know what? Last year, and we've been having this for the last 3 years. Last year, we had the worst of all this. Because the last 2 years, we had some, we dealt with them, but it wasn't. Last year, even at graduation, I had a mother, which I was so upset with. Because here at graduation, and she just went off. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry that the experience wasn't rewarding enough for your daughter. But I said, you realize she's up there getting her certificate, okay? She has 4 weeks. She still got monies.
Right.
She got a certification, she got the education portion, again, $3,000 worth. I could give you guys budget, I'm not saying this.
I got it.
And
I just think, I think maybe, and I don't know if we used to do this before, but maybe parents need to sign a memo of understanding. This is what your kid is signing up for up front.
They do, they just don't have the money part in it. The
And
parents
why don't
sign
we have
a letter of intent.
Right.
They sign a letter of intent, they know that the kid is going to be doing it. I just don't, here's the thing, the problem with the money. That grant is not a guarantee.
Right.
Like, till right now, I can tell you, I think we're 90% that we're gonna get it, but I can't until Ms. Diaz tells me
Right.
we have the grants.
Well, why can't we just do the lower amount? And if anything extra should just be, you know what,
Raise
a
it.
bonus.
Yeah, raise it.
I can put
But
that in
the-
there.
the
You want me to
high
put
school-
that? I put that in and you sign off on it.
Yeah, I
Now,
think
they're
that's
still
better.
gonna hear,
It's still not gonna be equal, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
People are gonna complain whether,
Regardless.
whatever you do.
But at least up front, I'm signing up for $800.
But
You know what?
listen,
You can
I
sign up
understand
and
what
get
you're
nothing.
saying, and I know it's an issue with my kids, and I have put in my own incentive to make up for the difference, so I'm good. Jackson gonna be okay. Whether you get this or you get that at the end, when they come back to the school, I have an incentive that I set down with my principals, my vice and my principal. This is what we're gonna do to just kind of soften the blow. If this one get this amount, this one get that amount, we gonna do this.
I will
So
tell you
Jackson is
again,
good.
this year is
Setting a
going to,
precedent, though.
yeah, you have to be careful with that.
You have to
But-
be careful.
You're only gonna be.
What do you mean?
The difference
Well,
between
because you're
what
gonna have to do this every
CNC,
year.
I have no problem with it. If I have
What?
to get out
That's
there.
only if you
But look,
continue to have FEMA
this
support.
year we're not.
No, I'm not banking on FEMA support. I get out there every day and sell my slushies. I'm not
Okay.
banking. FEMA is doing something. FEMA is something else.
But I also think that there is a lesson to be learned in all of this for the student themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're straying away here from.
But
And
I can stress it's not the
In this
students.
situation, no matter how you tell.
But we good. We
Listen,
good.
I'll be honest with you, and I'm gonna say it, because you know, I've talked to I don't know how many parents. Look, I had that parent come see me at the office, and I wish, I'm gonna have, no, it's okay. And I don't mind. And if you need me, and you need to send me to my office, please send them to my office.
I did send them though.
I know you did, but I know you did, but they showed up, and I attended him and I explained, okay? And I told them if I have an
How are
opportunity,
you?
trust me, I will put them in.
I'm not on
I have schools calling me from all
Wait a
over,
little bit.
all over, and every day I have to, I can't, the preference is the Academy of Finance. Okay, Miami Beach, Miami Hot, I mean, everybody calls me, how can I get into the future bank this
I'll be
year?
on it.
Connie, when you do the letter, can you just add the cost of the class, the book, so
I
that
can
they
definitely
can
do
see
that.
that it's
They can
greater
see
than
what the package is.
Yeah, the whole
I
package.
can definitely do
and
that.
they'll see that they're getting more than the
I can do
average.
that.
So you can put all that in there, the certification, all of their.
I can
doing.
definitely do that.
Yeah, put all of that in there for
It's
them.
gonna be a lot different this year. With her getting it up to 10, you're talking $137.
Yeah, right.
That's what the difference is
Yeah, it's
gonna
137.
be. It's gonna be
It's gonna be
137.
close,
It's not
and
gonna
I
be
promise you,
$400
if next year I can get it to 11, I'll get it to you. Because I mean, career source hurts me.
But,
And what I was getting at is, I've talked to parents that say, you know what, I don't wanna give documents. You know, you see it already, right? And then when I tell them, here's the list, this is what you got, this is what you're working with, no matter how much you educate, okay? So as soon as I say, you know they're gonna get paid, all changes. I'll get you the document. So I understand. And then, I have to use that as a tool. And it's, to me, it's sad, but it's a reality, because it's not about, again, the end of the day, am I making $200 or $300 more than less of the person? It's what you're getting in this program. It's what we're here for, right? It's what you fight every day for. It's to expose these kids to these opportunities. So I get it. I completely understand. You tell me what you need me to do, and I will help you. I will put down a letter of intent, what they're getting, so they can see it in black and white. Okay? And if you have somebody that you want to talk to, I will talk to. But at the end of the day, I will tell you, Miss Washington, Miss
It's
Johnson,
okay.
Miss Washington, if you know that you're going to have issues because you can already see it, don't put them in. You already shared with me, and I appreciate that. And I want to tell you that I want you to do this thing. I always tell you, please, you know your kids. We need to make sure that we put top kids in here. Now, I understand some kids that are not top, that I think they just need this exposure and to bring them out, and I'll work with them. But if you're having issues with that, because you know what? It's going to make it worse. And one bad like I always say, one bad apple, that's all it takes. So that's the only thing for me, I'm taking away from here that I'm gonna put it on the letter of intent. You take away that if you see that you already have people talking about the money and they're having an issue with it, you know,
Bye.
that's it. Okay, I know I kept more time. Did anybody have any documents that they needed to give me that I didn't get? Okay, as soon as I'm complete with all the school, I will start sending out, you know, welcome. Although I already sent you that say these are track one and you got that, okay? Again, thank you for everything, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll piggyback on Connie, same thing, even for my internship, you know, I'm seeing that the caliber of students are changing. For us that host and sponsor a lot of students, it is imperative that we do hire the top kids. And not all of them have to be the top kids, but we do need good kids. And the reason why is, if my superiors don't see kids that are motivated, they're not gonna come back to me and say, next year, hire another 16. They'll say, you know what, only hire 3.
And that's the same thing that happens with the banks.
And that's the
I've had
problem.
banks that now have, you know, I try, but keep in mind, it's very hard for me. I come out, I do the orientation, then I don't know who really gets picked, okay? Oh, the other thing, please, if you can, during the student conference, all the future bankers, sign them up, because I would like to give them that interview, because that way I also know the strengths, because what I try to do is I try to mix them, right? But I had 2 banks that went down on numbers this year.
And we're there.
Yeah.
We may not hire a full 16 this year. And part of it is because of the last couple of years, just our group of kids are just not as motivated. And it has nothing, and I don't know if GPA is a relevant component here, but the students themselves just are not as motivated as our first prior years. We've had maybe 2 or 3 as opposed to 10 that were super motivated, you know, kids that just did stuff, you know, that wanted to be there. And so what's happening now, I have managers that are like, I don't want to babysit. And that's what it's turning into. And I don't want that to hurt the internship program and other kids the following year that really need the opportunity. It's going to get harder for placement. And what will end up happening is a lot of these kids are going to end up working in parks outside.
And remember, for me also, the GPA, I've told you that if you have kids that are not 3.0, unweighted, okay, but you support them, I'll put them in. But I need you to support them. Because I understand that not everybody is, you know, academically, they might be a great kid, but I will trust you, because you know your kids. I only get to interview them, and then when they get to Miami-Dade, they're all over the place, so it's very hard for me to really, you know, what I start doing is I kind of just start seeing what you do, is, you know, do I need to work with someone others in reference to their hair, their dress, their piercing, or all that, and then I start one by one. But it's very hard for me to say, I'm going to be able to tell, I'm relying on you, okay? So going back to that 3-point, although I always say I really would want the majority, but if you've got kids that you want to give that opportunity to, because you know they're good kids, they just need something like this to push them.
Yep.
You know, I'll take them. But it would be nice for you to tell me, like you did, Ms. Washington, so that I know, because then I will pick a bank, here's my other thing, that has more tolerance and will mentor more and will help more than some banks that really just want the cream of the crop. Okay?
And that's the thing. There are kids with a 3.0 that have more motivation, more drive than some kids that are just naturally smart and get a 4.6, you know, because they felt like, oh, it's easy to get here. So having a nice balance is important, but I think it's also important, and I'm not because I'm the chair, but keep in mind when you have business partners that do a lot of the contributions to this program, where we do a lot of hiring, we also answer to other people. And it's important for us to also showcase the best sometimes of the best. Not necessarily GPA-wise, but just motivation. Because we're starting to go in a different direction, and I would hate that to affect.
Oh, you know that. You always want to showcase, right? So
Yeah.
here we try to bring Yeah, Mr. Frazier, we try to showcase because, you know, as I said, we're trying to touch all. Some will touch more than others. Some are already, they're motivated on their own. Okay? So the idea is we really do need to show, because we want these institutions, and I always say in all my spiel, it's not easy in the banking, financial services world to bring in juniors. Most banks don't have that program. Their internship is literally more university.
Yeah, college.
So as it is already, you know, this is an exception, which is a great thing. So we really need to make sure that these are going to be kids that really want to be there.
Yeah.
Because if not, you know, again, and then they start spreading the word, and before you know it, you got a group of kids all upset and all angry and all mad, and it's just not going to work. Okay? But I promise that I'll put that in the information. I mean, you've already signed the letter of intent. I don't know if you want me to just put it and then I'll email it to you, and you can have the child take it back to their parent. So I can just say, this is what you're getting out of the Future Bankers Camp. Da, 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 da. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Connie.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Connie.
All right, so now about the summer internship, segueing to the financial aspect of it. I think if we look at last year compared to 2016, there was a huge change. I would hope that you guys also felt it, that there was less questions, there were less challenges as far as kids getting paid. I attribute that majority to the fact that we stuck to the deadline. Okay, and again, it's going to be the same year. We've already met with CTE. We're sticking to the deadlines. And I think kids have a really hard time with deadlines. But in the professional sector, we have deadlines. Even for my internship, the kids that wanted to apply, they had a deadline. I only received about 45 applications this year. I usually receive about 90, 100. Kids have a very tough time with deadlines. But I think that's part of this process, is that they understand that there's tasks that have to be completed by a certain date. So again, the deadline for turning in the documentation, and that documentation is that internship direct deposit form, is June 1st, 2018. That's the deadline. That needs to get to CTE. If there's a student that has not turned in that direct deposit form to you before June 1st, because you need to get it to CTE by June 1st, then they don't make the first payroll. You know, and now they have to wait. And that's important, that even the kids that are part of the bankers camp, they also fall within those same rules and same guidelines. They still have to open up the account. They still need to turn in the documentation to you by the deadline, because they still fall underneath the same payroll. Okay, if you guys have any questions as I'm having this discussion, please feel free to ask.
I do. Some of my kids called asking for the internship direct deposit form, and they were told that they had to wait until May to request that form.
I don't know why they would say May, but we did halt the process because we needed to meet with CTE.
Okay.
And I know a lot of you jumped ahead and wanted to get the ball going, and it's important for you guys to also understand that there is also a process behind the scenes that has to take place, things that may have to change, and that comes from our meeting with CTE. I still need to meet with the school district, the foundation, and their accounting department. So, I mean, there are other parts of this entire machine that needs to fall into place as well. So we couldn't move forward with the direct deposit form until we met with CTE and make sure that...
This was this week, that they called this week and was told they had to wait until May.
Okay, they were supposed to wait until, they said February 8th, meaning today.
I was told February 1st.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know why they would say May, but the form should be active. I actually spoke with their contact center yesterday afternoon, and they made the form active on the system, the new updated form, which is probably what we were waiting on.
Oh, so what's the new updated form? Because one kid received the, is it the ACH something form?
It should, just so you know, the direct deposit form needs to say internship
exactly.
direct deposit form.
Right.
If it does not say internship direct deposit form, it is the wrong form, and you need to hand it back to the student.
But that's what he was emailed.
Sample copy of
Here's-
it.
Yeah, that's what the student was emailed.
Here's the problem with the sample copy. Last year, we provided sample copies. Some teachers provided it to the student, and the students decided they were gonna fill it in themselves, and the teachers collected it and submitted it to CTE. It's important that everyone follows instructions. The only way this is going to work, and listen, last year we only had about 2,000, this year it's 3. As this program increases in size, this part of it has to work expeditiously. There's no way around it. We have to follow the instructions, and not, the wheels are gonna start falling off the cart, okay? So that's why we went back and forth of, do we give you guys a sample, do we not give you guys a sample?
You don't need a sample, it just says internship direct deposit.
In
Yeah.
addition to that, it's in the live binder in the student account, when you had the check-off list, that was the last item, so just refer to one of your students last year, that's all, just change the year.
And it's the internship, it's the same form, it just says
Just change it,
internship
yeah.
direct deposit
Yeah.
form. I urge you, please do not print this and give it to a student. They don't understand that they are not to fill this out. They will fill it out, you know, and then we have a problem, because what happens is they fill it out according to what they think the information is, then you submit it, and then it doesn't match your system. And that's why last year we still had some matching problems, which we shouldn't have had. Okay, and then when we started doing the research, it was because of the direct deposit form.
A student with an existing account at your school branch, they can go to the school branch and get this form completed?
Yes, so the form is not completed, the form is auto-populated by the system. So when the student requests the form, and the high school branches operate a little, everyone is a little bit different. I know Danette at Edison and Jackson, she collects the names from Ms. Mesidou and Ms. Washington, and she pre-prints the forms, and she has them. So when the student comes in, she has the form printed already, but they also have a small junior class. So it's easier, you know, you have 40 kids, you have 40 forms, when they come in, here's your form. The schools with a larger junior class, that makes it a little bit more challenging, okay? So if they have an existing account, it's a matter of them calling the contact center, going into one of our credit union branches, or going into the high school credit union branches
And requesting.
and requesting the
And
form.
it's still gonna go to their email.
It may
requesting
either
it.
go to their email, it may be mailed to them. It's up to the student to request the form of the way it was delivery, okay? I would suggest that the student always request email, right? Makes it faster, and that way you'll have it.
So are they still allowed to use, are they allowed to use the form from last year, or do they have to request a new form? The
New form.
internship direct deposit form?
New form.
So there's a new date on there?
Yes.
Okay.
They need to collect a new form. I don't know what that form from last year will say. I feel more comfortable if it's a new form
Okay.
that they're giving you. And the reason for that is we don't know if there was anything changed on that student's account, you know, name change, or we don't know. So it's better to just get an accurate form. Yes.
The application, when you're coming out to the school, it says math at the top with a 4-digit number.
Yes.
What's that number supposed to be?
Okay, great question. On the application, it says, and it should say, only fill out the parts highlighted in yellow. That part's not highlighted in yellow.
Okay.
Okay.
So we didn't fill it out, but
Yeah,
we didn't, the
so
ones that we had weren't highlighted in yellow because we got it directly.
you printed it from the website.
Yeah, we got it
Okay,
directly
yeah.
from the website.
If you look at it on the computer, it should probably, from what I recall, only the parts that are highlighted in yellow on the computer is what the student fills out. Very important. A couple of things that I want to know on here, and this is updated. This has been provided to you guys. You can make copies, give it to your students. You can send it to them electronically if you feel that's an easier way to communicate with their parents. It's also on their website. Like Ms. Phillips mentioned, you can print additional copies there. If the students have any questions, they can go there. A couple items on here. I just want to go through this very quickly. Number one, the $5 minimum deposit, the Social Security card. Okay, still important, still requirement. If there are students that, you know, illegal immigrant status is questionable, then you need to have a side conversation with Bob in regards to those students. Okay? Meaning if they don't have a Social Security number. Undocumented, exactly. Students' school ID, they should have one of the following valid, non-expired, okay? It's in black and white. It cannot be expired. If they bring me a passport when they were 3 years old, more than likely, it's expired, okay? So it's very important that documentation is not expired. I had a question with Ms. Mezadou a couple of weeks ago in regards a worker's permit. A worker's permit is not considered a valid form of identification by a bank security Patriot Act, U.S. Patriot Act, okay? That's not a valid identification. A resident alien card is, okay? So it's important for the students to know the difference. And you know what? Again, this is another lesson learned as part of them growing up, is understanding what valid identifications are. I know Ms. Besadou has arranged for the DMV to come to her school to help with those students that don't have a valid form of state ID. If some of you need help with that, maybe she can share that contact person and you can arrange. What some schools have done in the past is scheduled it on the same day that the credit union has arrived. That can delay the process. I would suggest doing it the day before, you know, and schedule the students out. Number 2, there's a website, SYIP.org/2018 internship. Last year was 2017 internship, so that's been updated. That's where the students can go and get that online application that they can print out and also get this FAQ. This is where the parents should be directed. If they have any questions, they can go on here as well, okay? When we come, those of you that are going to have the credit union come to you, it does help significantly with time if the students have printed this application and have already completed it, as opposed to us arriving and now passing out the forms and then we're waiting for them to complete the applications, okay? Number 3, mother's maiden name. You'd be surprised how many kids have no idea what that means. Oh, what it is. Okay? For the kids that, you know, don't have their mom around or don't know what their mom's maiden name is and someone else is raising them, like a guardian or a grandmother's maiden name, you know, or guardian's maiden. It's a name that they have to remember. It's a security question name, okay? The one thing we used to have on here last year that we don't have on here, and I'll explain why in a second, is a beneficiary. We used to require that the students provide us a beneficiary in case something were to happen to them. They still have the option of writing that in on the application, but it is no longer required on our end, for the simple reasons that we may have had kids in the past write their boyfriend or girlfriend as a beneficiary to their money, and something happens to them, and now we have a probate problem. Because mom is knocking on our door saying, where's my kid's money? And so is the boyfriend. Last thing we expected it to be a problem, right? But it is a problem. But even something as simple as them listing a sister or brother instead of mom or dad because there are issues in the family, the state of Florida has their own regulations in regards to that. Okay, and in the state of Florida, is if the child is a minor, you know, it goes to the legal biological parent. Unless, of course, there's a will, a testament, or a beneficiary in the account. At which point, it goes to probate court. And it can be locked in probate court for $25 for God knows how long. So we're just not going to ask. If the kid wants to volunteer that information, it's on them, but from our legal standpoint, we're just not going to ask anymore. When will they get their debit card? 7 to 10 business days. 7 to 10 business days from the time we come to you, or from the time that they open their account. Keep in mind, those of you that are at the credit union branches, even though they're opening the account at the credit union, your rep still has to go back to the regular branch, and it's going to take another 24 hours because it's not processed on site, it's processed off site, okay? And for the larger schools, you know, that open a ton of accounts, that takes a little bit longer than for a school that opens, you know, 5 to 10 accounts a month, okay? how can I access my account, my money? Obviously, free ATM. We've suggested the kids just go to Publix. It's free ATM. Some 7-Elevens provide free access to their accounts as well. What should I do with the internship direct deposit form? There's the information. What if I lost it or I need it? It gives you the instructions there as well. They can get it reprinted without a problem. Can I use my account before the internship? Absolutely. You have $5 in your account is active. You want the kids to use the account. I just provided some numbers earlier. But we want them to use the account responsibly, okay? Last year we had a severe issue with fraud. We really are trying to curb that with our kids. And it's still happening. You know, kids are being approached by adults and they're being told, let me use your account. And they deposit fraudulent checks into these kids' accounts, and kids thinking that for $50 or $100, I may bank. Like, I'm good. But they don't realize, even though you're a minor, you are still legally responsible. We will still prosecute you. You will still have to go to a courthouse and deal with this for the rest of your life. And once you report it to check system, it will prevent this child from getting an account at any bank for the next 5 years. So even though they're 16, they're going to be paying for this mistake for 20, and let's not talk about the legal side of it. Court costs, we've had issues. When we come out to the schools, we do talk to the kids about it. We give them an insert where it tells them somebody approaches you and tells you that something is not going to happen to you. It's not true. It will happen to you. You will be prosecuted. And guess what? If they work at one of our credit union branches, you will be kicked out. And now it's going to hurt your resume and your chances of employment because you've stolen from an organization. So kids don't understand that. For those of you that your kids are opening accounts on their own, it's not on you to make sure that they do understand that. But for the ones that are doing the big sign-ups, I'm the one that's going to talk to the kids about it, okay? What happens if I miss the account opening deadline? You miss your paycheck. Easy as that. They'll get paid on the next payday. Who do I contact? There's two numbers on here, 10 and 11. That's very important for you guys. Number 10 is a CTE number. That's in regards to the internship and in regards to the placement. The credit union should not be getting calls about where am I going to work? We have no idea. Okay? When am I getting paid? We have no idea. I mean, we do, but it's not our employees' job to tell them. Okay? That's the CTE number. They call the 270-5239 number to find out about the debit card that they never received, information about their account, and what that is, and this is me being honest, it's a voicemail. They'll call, they'll leave a message, someone will get back to them within 48 hours. It's kind of how that works. I do want to address some issues in regards to some of the high school branches that have been closed a lot. We are having staffing problems, and part of that is thanks to this flu season. A lot of our staff has the flu. And so it is affecting the staffing at the high school credit unions. So I'm saying this because I spoke with Ms. Acuna about this yesterday. If you feel that your credit union branch has been closed a lot and you're not going to be able to get your accounts open on time, send me an email and let's just add you to the list of scheduled dates, and we'll just do a big account opening and make sure your kids are taken care of. Because I cannot control whether or not the credit union branch is going to be open, and neither can our branch managers. Unfortunately, if somebody calls out sick, there's no one we can send and replacement, and the branch will be closed. So if that is happening, you see that we're getting close to the deadline and you're not getting the accounts open, send me an email and we'll just address it in a different direction. Yes.
On the schedule, it says North Miami scheduled for February 27th. I think Ms. Zellniger sent an email saying that it was changed to the 21st.
Okay, this is, Bob made this. It may have been before changes were made. Did she make a change recently with Ms. Rafe? With Iris?
Ms. Iris, yeah, that's
Okay,
what I believe.
so,
I
yeah,
just
this-
wanted to-
This may have been printed before I have the updated one and I will double check and I can follow up with you. I know Mr. Renesca is not here, but those of you that have multiple academies in your school, I suggest that you make sure you speak to your other lead teachers at your school. We're only making one stop. I hate to say it, but now you're responsible to make sure those accounts are open. The kids get to the credit union branch and get those accounts open. We will make these trips once. After March 22nd, we're done. Okay. So, do we have any other questions, concerns? You have the documentation that's required. You have the dates. Some of you have signed up, some of you have not. You also have contact information as well. Is there any other questions, concerns?
Did you extend the application deadline for the internship with your credit union, or
No.
maybe I just misread? Is it February 23rd?
We said February 1st.
Right, February 1st.
We wanted to have those students that were really interested before the job shadow opportunity, because they will be testing at the job shadow. If there is a student that you think would absolutely be excellent and you want to submit their application, there is no guarantee at this point that they will be included in the pool of students, but you can, okay? But there is no guarantee.
So does that mean that, you know, the way you normally have, like, from the time they step off the bus, it's like an interview? So it's the same process this time around?
Same job shadow, same
But
process.
if they're not interviewing for WASPO?
The job, well, the job shadow, every student that's there takes a HR test, not really a job interview. It's more of a boot camp of how to dress for success, how to answer interview questions, and then the actual test. These are the same pool of students that we'll use for placement at the credit union branch, and then also during the summer internship. But if they should have, at this point, if they were interested in the summer internship, has submitted that online application. Okay? And even the ones for the high school branches, they will have to do that at some point.
If a student is accepted into the summer internship and they're involved in the FBLA Nationals, is there time for them to make up that time, or is that like an excused absence, or? Because we have several
No.
of our good kids
No.
that are FBLA.
And no,
So they just can't.
there's no exception. They work from the start of the internship, which is approximately June 25th, through July 30th. If they can't, they have 2 days that they can miss. But they have to make those up by July 30th.
And it's an insurance issue, right?
Yeah, so that
Insurance
means
issue.
they're gonna have to work on a weekend, they're gonna have to work late, or whatever it takes to make up those 12 hours of those 2 days that they're sick.
And that has been an issue in the past, and I know this recently came up that it's going to be an insurance problem. Because insurance cuts off on
And-
August 1st, I think?
And it's a funder problem also, because we had that issue with an audit that we just went through. They questioned, why did the kid work after the end date? And this year they said they will not, and if they don't fulfill their 150, they're gonna take that money back.
Can they start early? Can they start early?
No,
At all?
They have to.
June 25th
And I've always had
to
that
July
rule.
30th.
I've always had that rule, and I've been a stickler to it. But I've tried to accommodate certain students, especially if they were on competition. But this is a great question, because now you guys can see it's not the employer now, it's a
The
grant
funder.
issue.
Yeah.
Well, you guys stress that you want top students and upper echelon students, and these are the kids that are going to these
Yep.
competitions and competing
No.
nationally,
Well, then,
but yet they
these
can't
are-
do the internship
right.
because they are good. So
These
it's
are
kind of a-
students that are gonna
yeah.
have to do their internship during the school year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not the
Yeah.
same experience as.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I agree,
So
but
it kind
Because
of,
during the school year, they're only able to work after school. We're not even allowed to have financial interns during the school, during school time, unless they're a credit union intern.
right. Yeah, put it right.
Yeah, but that's it. We have kids that have to go to nationals, which then goes into their internship time. That kid's either competes or he doesn't do an internship.
Same thing with sports. Sports falls within the same thing, music, band, all of cheerleading.
Michael, he gave up basketball last year.
And here's a great example. Michael is one of the top students at Southwest. This kid spoke at our last meeting. And I will say he was such a pleasure to have last year. An incredible, driven student. And he came to me and he said, what do I do? He's basketball camp.
Since ninth grade.
Ninth grade, he's like, this is who I am. He's like, what do I do? I said, sweetheart, it is out of my hands. It's either the internship or basketball. But I said to him, if you stick it out, I will make it worth your while.
And he gave up basketball.
He gave up basketball. Which is why last year, I had him speak, and now he just completed by the way, Michael, because of what he did, I introduced him to Flavio. Flavio incorporated him in the Bloomberg terminal training. The only high school student at a college level program, they got a chance to do that. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Kids need to understand not everything is about money. You know, not everything is about your impulsive and your passions. Some things you got to look at long term and understand the value of relationships and networking and the experience and what can this do for me in the long term. So for Michael, yes, he gave up the basketball one summer, but long term wise, and he just sent me an email thanking me once again, and he just completed the program, and I have to follow up with him, but yes. So there's the answer, parents. I mean, yes, we do want excellent kids, but there's going to be a time where they're going to have to make very difficult choices. And it's part of growing up, and it's part of life. And that's really what it comes down to. And yes, FBLA is an incredible opportunity for kids, but when you leave school, FBLA stays at sunset. But the experience goes on with you. So you have to understand the opportunity cost of certain things. Yeah, it is PBL. Opportunity cost of certain things and see what they value.
but they have up to 2 days to miss.
Up to 2 days.
But they have to make it up.
And are you closed on July 4th?
We do close. We're a financial institution, so we are closed on July
I'm trying to
4th.
work out the days that they missed. that
We
they
are,
go to
but
the
we are open on Saturdays. We are open on Saturdays, and they've given the okay for Saturdays. Fridays we're open till 6. I've had kids that have missed, that have stayed to work. They've come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and work till 6.
Right.
Saturday they can do 4 or 5 hours easily. 2 Saturdays they're done. You know, it's a lot of it is about the experience for them. So, the kids will tell you, I'm not about, as much as I love kids and I want to make